Hello everyone, Godzilla 2054 and welcome back to the Kaiserwhelm. And we are back with another banger episode, and today we are pivoting towards Asia. In last episode I was talking about the German crisis in Africa, how there was a big rebellion and literally everyone wanted to team up in order to not make the threat of communism bigger or syndicalism bigger. So yeah, they team up and beaten those revolutionaries and restored the German control in Africa, but at the expense that some territory should be returned as a thing. And today we are talking about what happened to Asia during the German bank crash that literally wrecked everyone in Europe and all over the world. And today we wanna talk about what happened in meantime in Asia. And let's start with the interesting situation. So we're gonna start with an interesting person, and that is the Chinese. We're gonna start with them because they are very, of course. My laptop is screwing up, kinda lagging. Maybe in future I will get better laptop. Trust me, I will. From the money I get from school. So how does the bank crash affected China? Well, when the China collapsed, the right wing took mostly control, and they were mostly German, pro-German. But as they saw Germany starting to shake, let's just say, they tried to reform more towards intent way. They don't wanted a full domination of economy by the Germans because Germans were also occupying some key regions, and I'm talking about Yunnan province, which was heavily influenced by Germany, as well Italy also having here influence in this province. So they wanted to balance it out between Entente and Germany. So they started to slowly become more like a neutral power. It's kind of like autocratic republic, but more like Entente leading. So yeah, of course China didn't become fully a power because they still were kinda they have some tension because of their past actions. So, but when this crash happened, it really helped China since every power were somewhere else taken and they decided that they need to take care of colonies first. So China started reunifying itself and invaded those colonies who broken away. Those were regions led by some communist, some autocratic left wing. They also beaten there was also like a big Chinese schism that almost led to Chinese civil war. Trust me, it almost had led to that. But thankfully in a very instant leverage because left right Kuomintang decided to make enough support so they bet in influence the left Kuomintang. They managed to actually beat the Chinese schism and actually the ones who take most of the power in China. So yeah, the left was really bit off and most of them rebranded themselves as other types of opposition to right China, or they fled to other left-wing provinces such as this province like here, which was led by I think in this time we're gonna make Wang Xi. No, wrong figure. I don't remember him, but yeah, in this timeline, one Mao Zedong there will be two factions. One by Zedong, you know who I mean, Mao Zedong, who would be more like syndicalist in this timeline, and Soviet pact rule. I don't remember him as a person, but yeah, he managed to win in this fight and take over as the province. So China continued it, and after some time they decided to another time consolidate those territories, stable, and for now they decided it's the right time to stabilize those regions so they could later on start again once the opportunity comes. So yeah, now we are for now let's go to the other thing. And that thing is the Italian problem. I could say the Italian. Why is this? Because Italy was like the whole time was still pretty much tied to Germany, and then saw this bank crash coming, and it pretty much wrecked the Italian economy overnight. So they were desperate of everything, but mostly money. They just needed money to, fix everything, fix everything up. But there were some countries who didn't get affected because they weren't fully German sphere. And one of those countries were an armed rival of Italy, if you can say, I don't know. I think Britain isn't that big of rival to the Italians. Bigger is probably Germans in some timelines. But in this timeline, I think the Britain was pretty big. I don't know, but I think so. But Britain wasn't that much affected because it was on because it make with America a new sphere of influence, an intense type sphere. I mean, it wasn't really in an intent. I'm sorry, I'm lagging just horribly, man. But yeah, they decided to combine their own spheres just to keep everything intact. So yeah, Italy had no choice but to make harsh decisions, seeing that everything was wrecked and the plans for Asia wasn't big, otherwise not those, and seeing that there were more bigger problems, Italy decided that it's time to abandon its ambitions fully in Asia. It's time to pack its things up and just leave the Asia sphere. So they decided to make a big deal with Britain, who was better situation because they weren't so much reliant on Germany. They sold their colonies such first was the island right here. Those islands which it took from Denmark before Britain could. How why it's lagging so badly? Like I don't know why guys, I'm sorry. But Italy decided I need wait, I'm sorry guys. But Italy decided to sell the rest of their colonies, and later, after selling off the islands, they decided to sell Malaysia to them. And Italy pretty much packed everything and got decided to go out, and that's how Italian ambitions in Asia ended. And now let's go to more chaotic downfall. Oh, it was Dutch. And that is the situation in Indochina, because situation there was tense. But if we want to understand the whole picture, we need to go back. So, if you remember correctly, Indochina was seized by Germany after the French lost the First World War in this timeline. So they needed to cede Indochina to Germany. It was pretty humiliating, this treaty, because it pretty much wrecked the French ambition there. But they had no choice when Germany took over. Well, you can say always that colonial powers never change. They just are the same. They want to colonize. They just change what they want. But Germans wanted more control of Benjamin. So they were much more brutal, let's just say, to colonial population than, let's just say, order. That fear was mostly because they don't wanted any. Mostly they wanted to get rid of those communist girls and everything. So yeah, the situation started to get worse. And but because they were much more brutal, people much faster wanted independence from Germany, and they wanted just to Germany to be kicked out. So the resistance of Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos formed a united front for free Indochina, which united every form of faction, from communists to syndicalists to rebels to monarchists. The one goal was clear: kick the Germans out of Indochina at any cost. And when that rebellion started, when and then opportunity arrived perfectly, because Germany sphere just collapsed. Everything started to begin at the same time. Remember, everything. Austro-Hungarian collapse, the Fourth Balkan War, and the whole situation in Africa happened at the same time. And this to Indochina happened as well. And the rebellion started massively. The United Front started making massive, and even both regions of Cambodia and Vietnam combined. Well, those had a harder time, but yeah, they started also moving out to the other groups. They also Thailand also cooperated with them because they just saw it as another blow to German imperialism, and they just wanted, hey, okay, you can do anything you want, just don't threaten my country, and we have best buddies. And that's what happened. And then just helped in order to supply both groups, and they communicated with each other in Thailand. Germany couldn't do anything because they were in high numbers, like they were, but most of them reserves they used for brutalizing the population against them. So yeah, when they revolted armly, they had some in magazines, but mostly they used it up. So you know what that happened? That wait, I need to. That caused Indochina to start collapsing rapidly, and when German and situation started to get worse and worse, and situation got much worse when both the Laos combined with the other groups, and most of Laos was liberated. Vietnam made a progress, and this they almost kicked the Germans out of Cambodia. So think how much situation it happened. And when Germany actually came back to Indochina with reinforcements, the situation in Indochina was far too gone. They managed to liberate Laos and Cambodia, and Vietnam almost kicked the Germans out. The United Front was making solid red, and soon they liberated Hanoi. And then Germany decided that it's bust out and made treaty, which formally made them leave Indochina and split country between the people of Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, which ended the German colonial ambitions in this region. But they decided use it as opportunity. They saw it interesting to have actually ally in that region. They could be a great distraction and great ally against Entente, which seemingly started to get back on the foot, which was pretty alarming for the German sphere, which seeing how the economic crash started, they started losing the shift of power started heading towards them, so they wanted Entente to get there. They feared that France. Now seeing that Germans are gone, they will try to reclaim Indochina again, or vandalization other groups against each other so they could take the region. So they decided to make pact with Japanese. Keep the monarchies of those regions out, but they knew that now, since they are gone, the the whole front of free Indochina collapsed. And that means that communists will start fighting the liberals and autocracies. Some autocracies will start fighting liberals, you know the drill. So they make pact with Japanese. Because that's having free influence there and we won't chill about it. We'll be chill about it. In order to peace out the the communist rebels in that region, so no communist country will be there, or syndicalist country could be there declared any republic, communist or syndicalist. So Japan, seeing that they wanted to spread influence and seeing that China starting to get stronger, wanted to encircle China in order to get some influence. So they accepted, and with that they started to in very interesting way make like they were just helping the monarchies against those communist guerrillas, but in actually they wanted to spread their own influence and make them those countries, those autocracies like in thanks join the cohesion prosperity sphere, which was later created like in 1940s, and they later joined, which was a better position for Japan, but that's not it. Because Germany made another treaty with Japan, saying that they already has been weakened so massively, they decided that I feel that the colonial ambitions should be also rooted out in Germany. So they decided to make a deal with both Australia and Japan to split the Guyana, not Guyana, I don't remember this colony. I forgot how it's called. I'm sorry. New. I mean it starts with new, but I've forgotten. But they decided to split the country too. The south goes to Australia and north goes to Japanese. That's the whole prospect. And that was made only to one goal, to make was to balance out things in Asia. They don't wanted a bad relations with Entente and we wanted to de-escalate the situation in Asia. Also, they wanted an rival in term in that type of Japan. So they decided that they give up the northern half to Japanese to further make the relations between Germany and Japan better. Of course, it was made by a certain militarist man who was later point out in the country to fix everything. And yeah, so yeah, that's almost the end. And now let's head to the last video. And now we are going back to China. Since yes, now we need to talk about them once more. Because they made another, let's just say, offensive? No offensive, but they decided to spread influence again because another situation happened. And that's because seeing that some things happen, and that is of course, and it's all covering about those two states. I said before that they were heavily influenced by Germany and Italy. Plus, it's clear that Germany, uh, wait, I'm gonna tell you later, but they heavily influenced those countries, Italy and Germany, thinking their influence could last much longer. In order to make sure China won't get that strong, they wanted better relations with Chinese, but they don't wanted also to make China too strong. So they decided that they will try a peace and they will try to develop those two countries in order to better up the relation between those warlords and also to spread their influence. But we know what happened, the Great German crisis hit, and both Germany and Italy sold their colonies because they were broke to Britain, and German Indochina completely collapsed. That means that Germany and Italy no longer were in Asia. So that means that those two regions had no authority, they had no backers to back them up. If someone invaded them or friendly incorporated them into some region. And that China did. They made a peaceful military operation in order to change the the ruling party. No, I mean the ruling. They wanted to change the wait. How it's called? Uh, too much. Wait, guys, I need to. So they wanted to peace in. So they made a special military operation in order to change governments to more pro-China and incorporate them into newfound Chinese front that was created in order to appease not to, but because of seeing that how Japan started to spread with the influence, they started a new front, anti-Japanese one, in order to start actually dealing damage, actually against the Japanese. And then few years later, and also wanna say one things, Germany and Italy also very much made those regions prosper. I can say they decided to very invest in those regions in order thinking that China won't recover and they wanted some back home because they feel that Japan back then are gonna incorporate everything to China and wanted some states, buffer states between them, but now it failed, plus Germany wanted to better ally, so they decided to abandon this. So yeah, and because of this, China, all this invested industry fallen into China hands, and German ambitions were completely gone. They failed at both things. First, China, they failed to make China not get stronger, which failed because they got free industry, which means China didn't need to invest in much industry as much since they had a free industry from Germans and Italians. Plus, they can now stabilize the country even more from any communist syndicalist threat and also prepare against Japan, who will definitely stretch their influence. So they could continue the situation, and later they invaded the last part of China that was destroyed, broke away from China after the great fall of China, and after that, China was mostly unified under one regime, and was the biggest like regime in China after the Japanese puppet was an inheritage of Qing. So yeah, now there were two rival governments again in China, and situation will start getting tense in later time. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I really want to get into 90 subscribers, maybe even 100 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm not begging you to subscribe. I think I am, but you know, it could be cool if you subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to sub this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this video because for now I'm gonna have a break from Kaiserwhelm for some months because I want to develop the lore behind the Kaiserwhelm. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and see you in the next one. Godzilla 2054 out.